All right, welcome to the deep dive this morning. Always grateful for everybody that joins. It's Monday, the 7th of February, and we're going to get started here. Maybe you saw the update that was sent out or the little video that I recorded on our topic this morning is really, are rising home prices sustainable, or will we see a market crash? I'm going to talk about that and starting to get a lot of questions about this. This being a little bit different from what we saw, earlier in the pandemic, is this 2008 all over again? Not talking exactly about that. We'll reference that, but are we, sort of seeing an unsustainable market form? A lot of people wondering about that. So this is likely going to be, a two-part deep dive. I'll do the first part today, and the next part next Monday. I won't be able to get through all of it today. But we will be talking about rising prices and their sustainability. So as always, I will share my screen. Let's get started. Today is Monday the 7th. Like I mentioned, in the question I'm posing is, are rising home prices sustainable, or will we see another market crash? This is a big question starting to form. I get the opportunity to speak to a lot of agents week in and week out. They're KCM members, or maybe we're doing a webinar for them, and this question starts to come up. And I know, when I see it over and over, there are a lot of people thinking about it. There are a lot of consumers that are thinking about it. And just to sort of validate that, Realtor.com came out with a study really asking, are you worried about a housing bubble that may still be persistent in the market? 77% of consumers said yes. 3 out of 4 said yes. Almost 1 out of 2 agents said yes. This is the percentage of people that say they believe there's a housing bubble where they live. So this is a very, very serious question that I think we need to take into consideration as we're talking to people, as we're making videos, as we're putting things out into the market, that people are worried about this right now. And it's sort of a nuanced answer. That's why I want to get into all the data. I think the answer is very clear, but getting to it, there's a lot of information that our research team has sort of gone through to help give you the information you need. My goal always on the deep dive and whatever we do at Keeping Current Matters is to give you the information you need so that you're the most educated agent on this topic in the market. So let's hop in here and let's talk first about home prices. I think this is where this all starts to kind of sprout out of, is the appreciation we've seen in homes over the last 2 years, really across the country. So let's look at this real quick. From CoreLogic, appreciation forecast near 10% in 2022. It's a lot of appreciation. You think back to 2020, 6% in the year. We ended 2020 with about 10% appreciation year over year, and I'll go over that. 2021, the numbers are starting to come in. The full year of appreciation, about 15%. We ended the year over year a little bit higher, and I'll show you why that is in just a moment. And CoreLogic forecasting this year to be at almost 10% appreciation in residential real estate. So, if you put this into context, we go all the way back to, you call it the 70s, 80s, 90s. The average appreciation in homes in this country is about 3.8%. So back in 2020, certainly in 2021, and going into 2022, as we are here, we're in the year, but, beginning seeing a lot more appreciation than what we've seen on average. Okay, if we think about year over year price increases, this is the the look that we often give you each month. And the question mark here is price appreciation starting to tick up. It ticked up in December, 18.5% year over year. Now, I just mentioned that CoreLogic said in 2021 homes appreciated by 15%. Why is that when you see 18.5% in December? Well, we weren't at 18% appreciation the entire year. We started off in January, year over year, about 10% appreciation, which brings that average slightly lower when you look at the year. And if you start to look forward to what forecasters are looking at for prices, you see the average is a little over 6% in the home price forecast. Everybody from CoreLogic there at the high side, 9.6%, to Zelman at 3%, and everywhere in between. Right now, as we start to look at forecasters, I would use the term they use. They have a bias towards the upside, meaning they think it's going to be a little bit higher. If you remember back in January, I talked about forecast, and We were about 5.1%. Now we're at 6.1%. Likely to see these revised upward as we go forward. Now, no doubt, we saw a great jobs report come out on Friday. The economy is improving. Expect mortgage rates to continue to tick up, and we'll stay on top of that. We'll bring that to you in deep dives. The one that Kate did last week on inflation, phenomenal piece to get out into the market. But no doubt, the economy is improving, and we will see homes continue to appreciate, and this question will continue to come up. Okay, so when we think about pricing, the one thing I want to always bring you back to, it's a matter of supply and demand. That is the question. Where is supply at and where is demand at? So let's start to define that across the country. And I'm going to encourage you to look at this. And as you put this information in the market, or as you start to have questions about where is my market at, go in and look at where the similar things are at in your market, like listings, like pendings, year over year. Where are we at? How much supply do we have, so that you can give the best information? But if you look nationally, new listings going into the end of the year, December, the most recent data that we have, are falling like a rock. New listings being generated started to fall off at the end of the year. And what does that mean? Anytime we start to see this supply drop, and no doubt we've seen supply drop over the last couple of years, it's going to keep the upward pressure on prices. Active listings, same story there. We're seeing active listings drop. One thing that's really clear right now about the coronavirus and the Omicron variant is that maybe it's slowed down some sellers, certainly hasn't slowed down buyers. That is for sure right now. We're going to get through this. I think the jobs report on Friday was a sort of a reflection of that hey, we're going to move through this. We're getting through this as employers, and that's certainly great to see. And so if we look at the supply side of things across the country, active listings dropping, new listings dropping, always keeping upward pressure on prices. We've got to remind everybody, when we're in this market, we're in a seller's market. I know there's a question, are we in a seller's market, a buyer's market, and perspective on that? But a seller's market, meaning homes will appreciate when there's less supply on the market. Now, many say, when I see this, when I see what's happening, I'm worried of a crash. I told you this is a little bit different than 2008. I think it's a different question. Is this 2008 all over again? And if you've been following Keeping Current Matters, we've talked extensively about that over the last couple of years. And I don't think this is the same, but I do think people remember that. I want to give you a little picture of the supply side of our business compared to 2008. So if you take 2007, 8, 9, and 10, you see the 4 years of sort of the housing crash starting and happening, almost 10 months of supply in the first 2 years there, 7, 8 months of supply. Where are we at right now? Well, we started off in 2018 and 19, 3 months supply. The last couple of years, these are in December, just under 2 months supply in homes across the country. Nothing like we saw back then. For there to be a shift in price, or for prices not to be rising at the pace they are, one of two things has to happen. You have to see a dramatic increase in supply, or you have to see demand squelched. So that would be my question. In your market, do you see a reason there's going to be an influx of properties for sale? Or do you see a reason that that demand would be turned down? Because what I'm going to get into next is demand, but it's all going to be about supply and demand. So when you have that conversation, or you have an educated perspective on where prices are at, you're going to want to look at what's happening nationally, what's happening locally with inventory where you're at, and what do you think's going to happen in the coming months. That's what it's going to all be about. But let's take the next big piece of pricing, and that's demand. Where do we believe demand is at? The one thing I think we can all agree on is that demand is white hot in this country right now for housing. Existing homes last year hit a 15-year record. Existing home sales in 2019, 2020, and 2021, we're looking at right here. We sold more existing homes in 2021 in the last couple of years and a 15-year high in existing home sales. So two things are true right now if you're in this business. We have a lack of inventory on the market and we're selling more homes than ever. Both of those things are true. Be sure not to just listen to there's no inventory. We're selling homes. They're coming from somewhere. It's a velocity of the market. They're literally not having, a chance to reach inventory at this point. So it's all about positioning the buyers in this market. This is how we get you into a home. This is how we accomplish what you're trying to do. But no doubt we're hitting records in the number of homes we're selling. And what do we know about those? We know that people that are buying today can afford the homes. This is a look at loans that have been given to people with less than a 620 credit score. Comes from the Federal Reserve. You go back to 03, 04, 05, the time leading up to 2008, the crisis. Many loans given to people that I'm going to say couldn't afford them or couldn't qualify for them. What do we know? That's dramatically shifted today. You've heard me talk about it. The equity position of homeowners all across the country is greater today than it's been in quite some time. So, when we start to look at the dynamics, they don't support a crash. They support a market that is low in inventory and there's a tremendous amount of demand. That's what's pushing prices, not an inflated situation of people that either can't qualify for loans or aren't putting any money down or anything we saw back in the housing crisis of the mid 2000s. And so that's important to remember. And I'm going to kind of keep on this story going into next week, and I'm going to cover affordability. People saying, are homes even affordable anymore? And we'll give you the nuanced answer to that. I think you're going to be surprised by that. We'll talk foreclosures, we'll talk equity, all the things that lead into this conversation to give you what you need to have this information. But I think when we look at supply and we look at demand, we can say, no, this doesn't portend a crash. There are not fundamentals in the market that would say there's going to be a crash. The one thing I want to remind you of too is as homes appreciate, for those selling, it means more equity. If you've been around KCM, you maybe heard about this, but maybe you haven't downloaded it. But if you haven't, I want you to do that. The Professional Equity Assessment Report. It gives you a way to have the conversation with those thinking about selling. How much equity do you have in your home? How much do you then have to be able to move up? Maybe you want to downsize, whatever the case is. You can go to trykcm.com/pair, download the Professional Equity Assessment Report, and you can use it with those that you're talking with today. But no doubt that the rising prices across this country mean more and more equity for folks. So, Jess, I'm going to let you come on here and see if we have any questions that have come up during this deep dive.
Hi, Dave. Yep, we do have a few questions that came through today. Sure. First, Vince asks, isn't this pretty normal at this time of the year in regard to inventory?
Is inventory pretty normal? Let's go back to this question right here. Certainly during winter months, inventory drops. I wouldn't say it's normal for it to be below 2 months of inventory. So that's the quick answer for that.
Awesome. Thank you. And then John asks, is there a variance in appreciation percentage depending on price point? Is the higher end expected to have the same percentage appreciation?
Sure, it's a great question. Right now, when you look at forecasts are given nationally for what are we going to see in homes. What we've seen over the last year is the higher end of homes is appreciating faster. Now, the challenge on the lower end is we just don't have the supply of those homes, but no doubt on the higher end, homes have been appreciating faster over the last year.
Awesome. Great question, John. 2 more questions here. Larry asked, where can we track national or regional figures on months of inventory / days on the market?
Well, you certainly can get that from Keeping Current Matters, and we provide all that information depending on what state you're in, and you can download the state maps. Keeping Current Matters. You can also look on any of the sites that track that. Realtor.com, NAR tracks it. CoreLogic. There are many others that track it. What we try to do at Keeping Current Matters is go out and grab all that and give it to you in very usable ways. You can put it on social media, you can talk about it on a video, things like that. But many people track it, and you can go grab that.
Awesome. And the last question we had come in from Fred. He asked, do you have data for the potential of move-up home buyers?
I don't. I think you can go to a company that I think does a good job with that is RedX. You can go look at RedX. I'm really looking at tenure right now. I've talked a lot about tenure in homes, and we know that over the last 10 years, a lot of people have made a decision not to move for a lot of reasons. Maybe they didn't have the equity in their home. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe, whatever the case may be, coming out of the housing crisis. But I would be looking at those people that have been in their homes, for 5 to 10 years and put off that decision, that are now ready. Now, the question coming back to that, Fred, is you have this equity position. I just talked about the professional equity assessment report. And what do you want to do with that, and helping that, individual, that family, make the best decision for that? Are you moving up? Are you downsizing? Are you doing something else in bankrolling retirement if you're at retirement age? So there are a lot of different things that people are thinking about doing with equity right now. I would focus on having that conversation, being the educator, and then saying, okay, what's the best decision for you and your family? Really good question though, Fred. Appreciate that. Anything else, Jess?
It looks like we did have one more question come in from Vit, who said, rising interest rates will price out a lot of buyers out of the market. What's your opinion on that?
Do I believe rising interest rates will price buyers out of the market? There's no doubt with rising home prices, and I do believe interest rates are going to rise faster now, that, especially coming out of Friday's jobs report, it will become more expensive for those buying, and those are real numbers. And I would do, if I was you, I would take the average loan amount in my area. We started off the year at 3.1%. We're now at 3.5%, and we're heading to 4%. And I would show people what the difference in payments are for your average loan amount. That'd be my first point there. I will say that the next point to that is there is no historical data to prove that will slow down the market, or we'll see any type of depreciation or less homes sold. The effect of rising interest rates means we're in an improving economy. We saw that again on the Friday jobs report, an improving economy. What does an improving economy mean? It means more people can buy homes. So I don't think there is historical evidence to suggest that we're going to sell less homes, or homes are going to depreciate because of rising interest rates. It will become more expensive though for folks. Is that it, Jess?
Yep, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Dave.
All right, good. Well, great questions. Again, I'll go back to the pair. If you haven't downloaded the pair or the professional equity assessment report, go in and do that today. Use that to have that conversation, just like the question that was just posed. Here's the equity you have in your home. Here's how you can use that and what you want to do. So as always, thanks for joining the deep dive. We'll see you again back next week, and I'll kind of do part 2 of this. As this market's sustainable, we'll go over affordability. I'll hit foreclosures, and we'll talk about equity in this conversation. So have a great week.